think now I'm ready to start planning my new cosplay. Welcome to Cosplayland. I am Alice and today I'm going to show you how I plan my cosplays. I have just finished a very big project that you have probably seen, and yeah, whenever you start a new cosplay it can be daunting, it can be a nightmare because there are so many things to do, and yeah, even if you plan in advance you don't always will have it the time you want it to. I'm not saying that it took me 5 months instead of 2 as I had planned for the last cosplay, but yeah, it's something that might happen, so I thought I would just make a breakdown of the things that I do whenever I want to start a new cosplay, because I'm gonna be starting something new next week. I'm assuming you have already decided what cosplay you want to do, so I'm just gonna get you through the steps that I take whenever I start something new to make it look, or at least to make me think it's not as difficult to start. So let's get started! The first thing you want to do when you start a new cosplay is to gather your references. Google search is probably the easiest way to find reference pictures. Just make sure you write the whole name of your character, because sometimes, like in this case, you will have a character with different versions and you want to make sure you are looking for reference for the ones that you are looking for. Some video games have character views of the actual dresses that are on the game, so make sure you check it out before you go looking for any other reference, because this will be the most accurate thing you can find out there. Merchandising is another good source of reference for your characters, so if you can afford it, go ahead and just buy the figure of the character you are going to be cosplaying, because these will have every single detail that you need. Of course, it can be very expensive to get all these things, so I'm sure somewhere in the web you can find someone that has taken pictures of all these things for you, and you can always take screenshots of anything you find on YouTube or on any pages that you like. When you are looking for reference pictures, you want to try to find things like details of the face, details of the front body, details of the back, the sides, every single part, every prop, every angle, because it's not so easy to get an idea of how it is until you have like all these parts. If you want, you can make a collage with all the images that you have gathered. You can use your paper, use your printer, or maybe a PowerPoint. It just depends on what you want to do, but I recommend you to gather all your information in one big folder so you can just go back to it whenever you need it. Last but not least, if you still are unsure or you can't find much information of a character or a design because perhaps it's a one-off, just see what other people have done. See if there's other people that have cosplayed the same, if there are shops selling that, or perhaps if there are other fan arts that can help you get an idea of how that cosplay would look at the sides or the back. Step number 2. Divide your cosplay into smaller pieces. If I were to tell you I'm just going to do a giant armor, it can become hell, it can be very difficult to figure out how you are going to do the whole thing. However, you can always divide it into smaller pieces. Personally, I like printing at least one reference picture of the cosplay I'm going to make, and I just take notes of all the parts that they are going to take. This way I have an idea of how long and how many pieces I need to make before I start. To make sure I haven't forgotten anything, I like to check my references and make my own sketch of the drawing. This helps me visualizing all the little details and all the pieces that I will need to make in the future. Of course, you can be as detailed or not as you want in this, but I find that this is usually very helpful. After many years making cosplays and doing sketches, I have actually designed my own cosplay planner, so you can check it out if you're interested and download these scene pages that I'm using for this character. Of course, you can just use a blank page and fill it with as many drawings as you want. The more detail now, the more you will be able to see how it goes later. Remember that you can always make something into much smaller pieces. If I were to be making a skirt, for example, I can write in my diary, make the skirt, but if I know I'm not gonna have a lot of time and probably I won't be able to finish the full skirt, I will be writing things like cut the pieces, or maybe assemble the pieces, or insert the zipper. So you can always make it into smaller pieces. Step number 3, gathering materials. Let's say that after seeing all the work that you have to do, which is not little, you still want to make it. Remember that you can buy a cosplay, that's absolutely right, so don't be scared of commission any pieces that you don't know how to make, or even just get a cosplay and add details later on. Don't be afraid of doing that, because that is also cosplay. If you decide to do everything, now it's time to gather your materials. Before I go to the shop, I always make a list of all the materials that I need and how many meters or how many pieces I will need of it. Believe me, when you are shopping, you don't want to be just spending time looking at a tiny reference picture in a phone and just trying to figure out how many meters you need for a skirt. At this point, you may more or less make an estimate of how much it's going to cost you and see if you can actually afford it, or you will need some time to gather that money to put together all the pieces that you need. Remember that you will need things like closures and trims and lots of extra little pieces that you may not initially think about, but they are very important for the cosplay as well. Also, if you have to buy a wig or buy anything which is going to be shipped from overseas, buy that first, because sometimes it can take months to just get it. So plan ahead and just make sure you have everything gathered before you start it, or you probably will be disappointed when you are in the mood of cosplaying and you don't have all the pieces and have to stop halfway through. If you don't know how to make a piece, do not worry, because most of the time there are tutorials and there's other people that will tell you how they made it. Most of the cosplay community is pretty friendly, so if you see someone that has done a cosplay about something that you like, you can always ask them. Most of the time they will reply. Of course, you can just pop into my blog, because I have like hundreds of tutorials on how to make things, assemble things, and all kinds of stuff that will be very useful, and it's all for free, so just check it out if you're interested. Finally, it's time to organize your time. Do you have a convention in mind? Then make sure you have planned everything beforehand. And as a matter of advice, I will say, if you think something is going to take you 1 hour, just reserve 3 for yourself in order to do it, because there is this concept called the cosplay time, in which everything becomes timey-wimey, and whenever you think something is going to take you this long, it usually takes you like 3 times longer. So account for any mistakes that you may make, anything that may go wrong, testing, trying things, not working out, making mock-ups, all that takes a lot of time. So make sure you have plenty of extra time before you commit to anything. If I am organizing my time, the first thing I do is block out all the time that I won't be able to use, because, you know, you have to sleep and eat and even being social, even if it's with your cat. So I just get that out of the way and see how many actual hours I have to actually do my cosplay. In general, I will choose 3 things that I want to do that day. They don't have to be big things, they could be small things, it just depends on how much time I actually have. So for example, if I wanted to finish a skirt but I don't think I'll have time to finish the whole thing, I could be writing things like cut the skirt, sew the seams, and maybe either at the zipper or at the waistband. You can always reserve some time in the evening to do one more thing, but I wouldn't be really bothered if I didn't finish that one thing, so I will stick to 3 things that I know I will do for sure and just keep everything else for the next time. If you get to do more, happy days, you will finish your cosplay earlier, but I can tell you most of the time that won't happen, and you will actually end up spending more time on something than you think. Also remember that you just need time to relax, so make sure you don't overdo it and just add many things to your list that you will not be able to do, or if you do, it will make you feel really tired. You need some time for gaming, watching anime, playing video games, you know, all those things that we usually do. If I am planning something for a specific date, what I will do is I will try to gather the parts of my cosplay which I think I can do together and just figure out how many weeks it will take me before the event or the deadline. But I will suggest, if you don't get to do it on the deadline, don't worry, don't go for the crunch, it's not worth it. So you can always go with this cosplay to a different event or just wear something else, because I'm sure there's something in your wardrobe you can use. And remember, the level of motivation will change each day. Some days you will get to do a lot, and some days you just will stare at your cosplay and your cosplay will stare back at you. That's absolutely fine. Just make sure you leave some space for resting and relaxing and just being with your family and your cats. And finally, the most important advice. Don't forget to have fun. The moment this becomes a burden, you will not enjoy it, and that's not the point of cosplay. The cosplay is to enjoy it and have fun with your friends or just crafting and doing stuff. So make sure that when you are doing this, you are feeling great about it. If not, it's just not worth it. If you need to rest from your cosplay, as I had to do with my last cosplay, and just park it for a few days or a few months, it's okay. The cosplay will be there waiting for you if you feel like it, and if not, you just enjoy the project and you enjoy the journey in which you just were doing all this for yourself, and it's awesome. Do not worry if it doesn't look like what you had imagined when you had started it. Everybody gets better, so just keep trying and you will finally get that piece you are very proud of, and you will be able to show it to the world and say, hey, I made this. I hope you enjoyed this video, and let me know in the comments if you like this kind of content. As you can imagine, Tifa is going to be one of my next projects, but it is not my next project, so I would suggest to click that follow and that notification bell if you want to know what I'm going to be making next. Of course, I will be having tutorials for everything I make, and you will have some extra content like copies of all these plans that I make on my Patreon if you want to join me. Have a wonderful planning time, and I will see you next time. Bye! There's Katya. Come on. Yeah. Are you gonna write gather references with me? Yeah? What's your cosplay? Oh. She's caked.